Hey loves, it's Britt, and I'm continuing my Mars in the House Overlays and Synastry series. So in this video, I'm going to talk about Mars overlay in the 7th house in Synastry. So if your Mars is falling into someone's 7th house, or their Mars is falling into your 7th house. So out of all of the 7th house Synastry, this one can seem to be the most troublesome. And not that it can't be good either, it can definitely still be good, but this one is interesting because Mars naturally rules the first house, just in the natural chart. And so when your Mars is falling into someone's 7th house, it's sort of an unnatural position, especially if it's exactly opposite to the ascendant of someone. There can still be quite a strong physical and sexual attraction and feeling that like this person is your ideal in a romantic or sexual sense when it's Mars. But at the same time as that physical sexual buzz, there can be a feeling of like competitiveness where the Mars person can actually be a bit jealous of the host person. Sometimes I've seen it like that, where there's just this interesting competition. Now, depending on the people and the rest of the synastry, if the rest of the synastry is really good, this will just add a bit of a buzz and playful kind of, competition vibe. And it could be quite good. It could be quite active. It's definitely one of the more active overlays for Mars, where you want to get together and do things and socialize, and so it can be good, but you just have to look at everything, because I have seen this one work out where the Mars person just kind of feels like threatened by the host person and what they represent sometimes, because it's an opposition, so it's kind of like the shadow, right? It's like the Mars person can see the ascendant person as someone who, or the 7th house person, like they need, but at the same time they piss them off. And then the house person can feel like, they're just acting and being normally, and the Mars person is like taking such issue with them. It's like, what's going on? I'm just being myself, like chill, right? And it's interesting. It's a really interesting one to see out of all of the 7th house overlays, because the 7th house is the house of marriage and partnership. So they are compatible. It just depends on like the level of ego involved in the Mars person and the house person. Like, are they going to just butt heads and be constantly one-upping each other and like just, threatened? Or are they going to relax and enjoy the actual opposition energy that they have, which really, like, you could also feel like you have met your other half with this overlay. So Mars ascendant aspects, so Mars conjunct the ascendant, is one of the more sexually compatible aspects. And Mars opposite to the ascendant is actually the same, or even better, because we balance each other out, and there is that harmony and that polarization that has the potential for coming out. So like the true masculine and feminine, the true, like, this person could be your true spouse if you're evolved enough to not be totally pissed off at them all the time. It's pretty much how it goes with this. So it definitely kind of depends on the people. It depends on the sign that Mars is coming through. Like, if it's a Mars in Libra person or Mars in Pisces person, they might handle this differently. If it's a Mars in fire sign or Scorpio or something, they might get kind of pissed off at the house person. Which is interesting about 7th house overlays, that like we're actually so compatible. We are what the other lacks. We need each other. We are the ideal spouse, really. But are we ready for that? Are we ready to actually be open to what we really need, right? So that's kind of what the seventh house overlays represent. And with Mars there, it's just kind of a tricky one. We can come to battle with the person who has Mars in our seventh house. And over kind of like stupid reasons, really, because we actually are what the other person needs, but we're maybe just not mature enough to see it. So, another thing this could be really good for is like actually strengthening the house person's ability to relate with other people. Like when someone's Mars is coming into our seventh house, they can kind of get us out there socially. And the seventh house represents relationships of all kinds too. So the Mars person can kind of, make us more sociable, more like if we are maybe more shy or we're lacking in relationships with others. We're more like Aryan dominant personality. The seventh house person, the person with our Mars, their Mars in our seventh house, can get us out there and kind of open our mind to the other people out there. So it can be really good, and it can actually be pretty good for communication as well. Usually the Mars person does feel natural to communicate with the house person. They feel attracted to them. They want them. They want what they have. Sometimes when it gets into a more jealous place. So there is like a natural openness to this overlay. It's not so like weird or eerie like a 12th house overlay. We are still pretty easy to communicate and open up, and if we can set aside our differences and our, more egotistical attitudes, we can realize that we actually are pretty compatible with this overlay, and it's active. Like you can get a lot done and you can get out there more socially, and yeah, it can end up being quite a powerfully passionate relationship. But it's not usually super lighthearted with Mars in the seventh house. It's definitely passionate and it can be more difficult, but depending on the people, it might just be exactly what they need. So, yeah, I'd love to hear your experiences of this overlay. How did it go for you? It's definitely a remembered relationship in my experience. So yeah, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts, and I'm doing requests, so I'd love to know any requests that you guys have for me to talk about on a video. And I do offer one-on-one sessions. My links are below, and we'll talk soon. Bye guys, love you guys.